Welcome to the Beyond the Bucket Show, a podcast centered around optimizing all lives' buckets. We all have buckets we are balancing: coaching, entrepreneurial ventures, family, passion projects, and health. Let's all take this journey together and become bucket fillers. And here's your host, Chris McSwain.
Welcome back to another great episode. I got my man, Nate Ramezane, international man of mystery, finally coming back to the podcast. It has been a long time. You were one of the first members on the podcast, and that was via Zoom. Yep. And now we got a whole little studio jumping off in here. So welcome back, my brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Scoot the microphone just up a little bit. There you go. Welcome back. What's been going on like the last 4 years?
Yeah, man, it's been a wild transition to go from, where we were in 2020 to, where we are now. And everybody's kind of, adapted and been flexible. And, in education, we've always used that term, learning agility. So being able to adapt, but having the ability to be able to do those things. And man, last 4 years has been great for me. There's been ups and downs, but always focus on, the positive, what's on the up and up, and what we can do to get a little bit better.
So tell me, tell me, I know, but all the people out there, you have like 10 different jobs. First of all, you're a principal at a school. You are a college and high school basketball referee official. You do real estate, and you dabble in the stock market. You do a bunch of different stuff. So why don't you give a breakdown of everything that you got going on?
Yeah. I like to keep myself busy. I think growing up, my parents taught me the value of a dollar. They worked very hard, and I always had enough. They never gave me extra because I didn't need it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I was blessed to have that kind of upbringing where I had what I needed, but as I kind of grew up and kind of set out my own path, I wanted to have more. I wanted to be able to at least have the freedom of being able to have more. And so, yeah, I've always kept myself busy trying to build, learn along the way, build what I can. But yeah, my full-time job is I'm a principal, and I love working with kids, love working with staff, love working with families. It's a blessing. It's that Spider-Man thing, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
And you work in education, so we do have a major responsibility to the kids, to the staff, to the families that we work with. It's a great opportunity in order to be able to change lives, set them up for success, build confidence, build life skills, perseverance, resilience, all those things. And so I love the opportunity that I have to work in education. Real estate was kind of like a second endeavor that I had picked up, 7 or 8 years ago. You just kind of see where the money's at and where it's going. Yep. And especially in the Bay Area, man, it's very lucrative to be in real estate and to get involved in that. And so, I worked hard my first few years out of college, and I graduated with $200 to my name, but worked really hard. I was able to buy a house at 26, and that kind of set me off on the path right there. And then it was just building, learning, and saving up enough to get an investment property, and then do that again and buy, sell, fix, flip, and just try and make set myself up for future success. And reffing, we've always loved sports, right?
Absolutely.
And I tore my ACL a couple of times, and so I knew it at some point my career was going to be coming to an end. But being involved, I love to coach, and God bless all you guys that still coach and are in the game, giving back to it. I love coaching. There's something special to it. It's like teaching. It's being in education, right?
Yep.
But I was a teacher at the time when I first started officiating. Between teaching and then coaching, it's such an emotional toll. You give yourself to the kids, you give yourself to the game. And so it was beating me up mentally and emotionally to teach and coach and do all those things. And so I said, I need to stay in the game somehow, stay in the sports world, but how can I do that without that emotional toll that I had? And so officiating is what did that for me. Because I still give myself to the game, but once it's over, I can go home, watch a film, and I can put it behind me.
Sure.
When I was coaching, it was, what can I do to help this kid be better? What can I do to help our team? And so it was like all these things that just never stopped. It was 24/7 thinking about the team and what I need to do better to give to them. Now as an official, it's like I can give to the game. I can give back to coaches, to the players, to my fellow officials.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I can go home and okay, now I just need to get better. I don't need to worry about anybody else getting better. I need to get better myself.
Yeah.
And so that makes it a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a bunch of different things, and we'll probably go down a bunch of different avenues as we chat through this. But the biggest thing, like you mentioned, the time consumption of being a head coach or even an assistant coach, there's just still a lot because your head coach relies on you a lot. I mean, my text thread with my assistant coach is long and it's continuous. And I tell people this all the time, you know, we have a basketball team, and that means if you have 12 players, you have 12 people that rely on you. And then you might have a JV program as well. And that team has 12 players that rely on you. And then if each one of those players has 2 parents in their life, they may even have guardians or other people in their life. Now those people require energy and attention from you. And then you have your administration who requires attention from you. And then you have basketball officials while you're in the game, they require attention of you or you require their attention. And there's just so much going on. And like even on a Friday night, and we can compete in our league, and it's there's nothing like being in that sideline. But we had a tough loss on Friday night at our place, and just kind of back and forth until it wasn't towards the end, and they came out on top. But I stayed in the team room to decompress for about an hour. I watched some film for the next upcoming game, and then I did the scout for the upcoming game. But I needed to decompress, and still, even when I got home, it was still on my mind. So that thing that you're talking about, that's always constantly moving, that rabbit that we're continuing to be on this treadmill over and over and over and over. And I just had some guys that that you're close with as well. And they're all basketball coaches. And so we're talking about our teams, and we're talking about all the things that are going on within the program. And it's just so much, and it's so time consuming. So when you said that directly resonated with me on, man, we do provide so much for so many people, and that can be a lot. And then, so there's moments like this where this is relief from all of that. And we can just have real good high level conversations together. And for me, that's what this is all about, is just elevation of the concepts that you already know. But when you can talk to somebody that is on the same level, they can stretch your thinking to think about it in a different way. So and that's one thing I've always appreciated you is you have also tried to elevate yourself, not just in what you do, but there's other things, because yes, you're a principal, but you also have a business acumen, and then you also have the sports background that you want to continue to stay in. So what made you want to be so well-rounded outside of your parents pushing you and getting you, set up, but never like giving it to you? You always had to work for it.
Yeah, man, it kind of makes me think of the word Renaissance man, which is kind of an older term, but it really means like you're well-rounded, right? You know so many different things, and you can hold your own in any classroom, in any business room, on a court, in a field, out and about in nature. So just being able to understand at least a little bit in all those avenues, because the worst thing to do is to walk in the room and not know anything about what you're doing.
Right.
And obviously it's good to want to learn, but to be able to learn and then be able to offer something, right? Always give value. That's the other piece, is I think, how can I add value to my friends' lives, to the people that I work with? You do that. And the time thing is like, we don't work a 9 to 5. We work a 24/7, right? Like if you really invest yourself into the work that you're doing and your passions, it's a 24/7 thing, But yeah, really just wanting to be able to add value to people. And so I want to learn as much as I can out there. Yeah. It's a big wide world, and gosh, there's just so many things to be able to do and involve yourself in.
One of the terms that I always talk about is always seek knowledge. And so if we're always doing that, we're always going to be become more knowledgeable. And not that we know everything, but if you know a little bit about a lot of different things, you can be well-rounded, like you mentioned, like a Renaissance man or something like that. And then, as you know, Kobe was very curious as we look above in the studio, but Kobe made me think about that acronym differently. Ask, ASC, always seek curiosity. And those two things I think have really benefited us in both of our lives, as we've always been curious to know about other people and how they think about certain things. And we've always been observers, and we observe what is going on. We observe the presence that somebody has. I think that's one of the best things that anybody can have in any situation, is having a presence. And when you have a presence, it's because you're confident. And if you're confident, that means you've actually put the work in. So like if you go and do a talk, or I've done a talk, and I'm going to get to a talk that you recently did for some officials at for parents at Los Gatos High School. And I heard this third party. You didn't even tell me this. I heard this from two separate people about what you said. But you know, if I give a talk, I have already done that talk in my head over and over and over. I've probably put at least 15 hours of work into a 15-minute talk, if not more. So when I step up on a stage, it's second nature. And then you get a lot of reps doing what we've done as a teacher, as a coach. You have to be on your feet in front of people all the time.
Yep.
So public speaking is actually very, very easy for people like us, because we have gotten so many reps, or being a team captain back in high school or college, or being a leader. And that just becomes easy. So what people may think is difficult for people like us to speak and be a presence is very easy for us, because we've got hours and hours and hours. We put our 10,000 hours as far as being a leader and being in front of people. But what I want to talk about is, you gave a speech to parents at Los Gatos High School, and I'm not sure what the background was in regards to why they asked you to come speak to parents, but you said something very profound, and I'm gonna give you the Cliff Notes version and you can give me the real version. But you told the parents, and I'm paraphrasing third party obviously now, but you told the parents, there has never been a time where your son or daughter has thanked you for yelling at the officials. And Mark Gray told me that, and Allie Cooper told me that, and Sarah Giles. They all told me about what you said, and I think that is so very important. So tell me about that comment. Where did it, why did that strike a nerve with you in order to make sure that these parents had some sort of knowledge about that?
Yeah, so the background of the talk was just the fact that most of the high schools now are doing sportsmanship talks with their communities, their families, going into the winter season or fall season. And so they asked, could we have somebody from the officiating association to come and, just talk about officiating as a business, as, who you are as a career. We're low on officials, and what can you tell them about, who you are and what you guys are doing, how much you're trained, so that maybe they can have a little bit more appreciation and more respect for the officials. And I said, I'd love to do that, because at the end of the day, it really is about education, right? We want our kids to learn and grow. We want our parents to learn and grow. We're all on that team of sportsmanship and responsibility and all that. And so I said, yeah, I'd love to come and talk. And so, as we kind of got going on the conversation, that was an important piece for them to understand is, you're there cheering for your child, and you have that, mama bear, papa bear feeling, and you want them to be protected. But beyond that, sports were really designed to bring people together, to bring the best out of people. When we think back to the Greeks and Romans, it was like, we're going to bring our best to this, facility or this arena, and we're going to have our best versus your best, and we're going to all cheer them on, right? It was really just about competition. And so that's what I really want us to bring back, is just cheering our athletes on. You're a fan, be a fan. And so, you and I played sports since we were small all the way through college, Yep. And so, yeah, I kind of thought about it. And my dad was a coach. My mom, was actively involved in all my games, but there was no time where I went home after a game and said, gosh, I'm really happy that you yelled at that official. I'm really happy that you were just, yelling at every call. That's never happened in the history of my time as a player, coach, athlete, official. And I can't imagine anybody has ever gone home and said that. At the end of the day, the official's there to do a job. They're trained, but they're human. They're going to make mistakes, and it's not because they don't care about the game or don't want to do a good job. But, I said part of the speech, I said, when your child goes and misses a shot, do you yell at them? No. When they go and make a bad pass, do you yell at them? No, because people make mistakes. We're all human.
That's a fact.
To err is human. But
that's a fact.
The same thing with officials. None of us are robots. None of us are going to see it the same way. And you look at these officials in the NBA who are, the best in the world, right? And how often are they having to return a call or go over a call or, challenge was successful. So here we are with amateur sports. We need to be able to treat our officials with respect. These are amateur sports. Cheer your son or daughter on, wish them well, cheer the officials on, because at the end of the day, it's all about learning, the growth and all that kind of thing. Nobody learns by yelling at the official.
100%. And what a parent tells a kid in the game does not actually help them. Shoot, pass, rebound. I hear that all the time. Box out. They know what they need to do. And even as coaches, like, we need to sit down and shut up sometimes too. Like, we need to chill. And I'm the one included. This is coming from somebody that's stomping on the sidelines just 3 days ago. But nothing that somebody from the stand says is actually going to help them if you really, really think about it. And I had to learn this from my 5-year-old son's basketball game. And all the parents were talking, and then one of the games that I helped out, like, coach, and he couldn't. And when they were on this side, I was able to say, "Hey, get to your spots" and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, they were on the other side, and I'm way down here, and they can't hear, and I'm yelling, and my wife is yelling, and then every other parent is yelling. And I said, "What was going on in your head?" He's like, "I didn't understand what I was supposed to do," and the coach was yelling too. So I just, like, after that, I was like, I'm not saying anything anymore. And I love the parents. And there's a lot of parents that just go sit in the stands, say nothing. They'll cheer all the other kids on. And that's where I'm at now. Like, even if my son is scoring, we played football today and he scored a touchdown. He got one touchdown called back because his flag fell off by himself, but it was going to score. And I didn't even clap for him. I told him at the end, "I love watching you play today." And that was it. And that's hopefully where I'll continue to be, because there's just too much stress in regards to athletics for these kids at such a young age. It doesn't have to be that serious. And we as adults have made it too serious for them. And sometimes they have lost that love for the game.
That's exactly it. And, another big piece of that is, as a parent, you can't live the game through your child. You had your time. You had your opportunities to play, right? Let your child have their opportunity. Let them grow and do the thing. Like, you are not them, right? As the parent, as the adult, free yourself of that, of that responsibility or that feeling. Like, right. Just cheer them on. Have them be the best that they can be. They are not you. They are not living through you. They are your legacy. But what do you want your legacy to be? Hopefully one of positivity, sharing the growth, sharing the love of learning, the resilience, the perseverance side of things.
Yeah. And as a parent, the only thing that you really want, or I can only speak for myself, but I want them to be a good person, treat people the right way, and enjoy their life. And if they are able to do that, then I think it's a pretty successful life, as simple as it
Mm-hmm.
is said.
That's right.
And just have peace. So many people don't have peace because of external things, whether that be the social media that we are all addicted to, whether we want to, admit it or not. Some people are more addicted than others, but we are. It's constantly in our hands. If you just go to the grocery store and you walk through, you're going to see multiple people, if not the majority, on their phone, walking through somewhere where they're trying to get items to live. Yep. So when you look at it like that, just keep things very, very simple, and just understand and our job as a coach should be this, in my opinion. And that would be, did your kid have fun? And did they learn about the game? And did they learn about themselves and become better people? And if we have those three things, then our program was successful, whether we won Basketball games are not. Your
Yep.
kid had fun. They weren't mistreated or anything like that. They learned something about themselves,
Yep.
and they got better at basketball,
That's right.
which is what they were trying to do and develop. So
Life skills right there. You know,
exactly.
all those pieces are life skills, you know, finding joy in the sport, finding joy in your friends and what you guys can do together. You know, how much better life is together. Like team sports are such a blessing in that, right? Because you have to be able to work together to accomplish something.
Right.
That's why basketball is great. That's why we always love football. You know, you have 5 or 11 guys, like everybody's got a responsibility for that play, for that, you know, for that time frame. And so being able to do your job, all the, it's just life skills, man. But finding joy in it it's beautiful.
Yeah. Let's talk about relationships real quick. You're a person that really invests in relationships. We spent time together. We've been on vacations together. We went out to the NBA Summer League this past year and got to sit courtside with Wembanyama, and that was really cool. We got to see one of our former top flight players playing on the San Antonio Spurs. So how have relationships really helped you in all of your careers and just, you know, as the person you are?
Relationships are everything. You know, it really and truly is. Like, you know, there's a lot of podcasts around leadership and guidance and mentorship, but it really at the core of that is relationships, is knowing your people, investing in the people that you're working with and that you want to learn about. You know, you talked about curiosity too. Like one of the favorite things that I read the other day was that, you know, children are born curious, right? They're our first scientists. Like they're exploring everything is brand new to them, right? And along the way, we lose a lot of that curiosity, a lot of that joy for learning or just the interest in it. And I never want to lose that, you know, and in relationships, I love learning about people. I love learning about their stories, what makes them tick, how they got to where they are, how I can help them, how I can add value to their, you know, their job or their life or whatever it might be. But it really starts by learning about them and trying to invest that time in a relationship side of it. But man, that's really what life is about. Life is so much better with relationships. And so I feel very blessed to have the circle of people that I do.
Yeah. So another thing that you were just saying that just happened. So, you know, we got 2 kids about to be 6 and 4. And we had, you know, people over in the backyard, but CJ is trying to get the karaoke machine together. And he unplugs the router and internet and all that. And so the TV out in the backyard, and this is the NFL playoffs, the first weekend, and all of a sudden it's like a 4th down. That's why when you asked me, I was like, was it that one? And all of a sudden it pops off, and I'm like, what's going on? And so one of the things that adults do is also, I think, stunt some of that curiosity, because I got really mad at him, and he wasn't even trying to do anything mischievous. He just wanted to plug his own thing in, but he unplugged the whole bar, and it was now affecting something that we did. So as parents, we also say, no, don't do that. Don't pick that up. Don't do this. Don't do this. We can probably phrase it differently and still have that curiosity, because we say no all the time. We had, you know, 3 different groups of kids and parents here. And how many times was no said during that? Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And so you get reprimanded so many times. Sometimes you're just like, all right, I'm just not going to do anything. And then when they become teenagers, we're like, get out and do this, get out and do this, get out and do this. We could take them to the park. Don't do this, don't do this. Yeah. What is the park for? It's for them to
What
explore.
can I do?
Exactly. So that's just another funny thing when it comes to that. But, you know, not feeling that limit. I don't know for you, but my mom was one that never really limited me to anything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
She thought I can do it. Yep. And that's why I have so much confidence in myself. And that's one of the reasons why I carry myself the way I do. You do that very similarly. Who was the person, or what was the thing that made you have confidence in your own abilities to achieve whatever it is that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think it's just what you talked about, the support system. You know, I always felt like my mom and my dad were my biggest fans, you know, probably more my mom. My dad was more like the teacher, the coach, you know, this is what you need to do, the accountability, responsibility side. But my mom was always just pure love. She really pushed me into, you know, growing into my own and built that confidence piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, really just that support system, like telling you, yes, you're capable of doing this. Yeah, let's go out and grow. Let's be challenged. Maybe you can't do it, but you just can't do it yet, right? The power of yet, you can still do this, but it's going to take a little extra time to do it.
What advice would you give like a young person listening to this podcast that has aspirations to do multiple things? How have you been able to manage your time to be able to do all those things? And you're getting your doctorate right now, and we're going to call you Dr. Ramezane here. And when do you graduate?
Another year and a half, baby, 18 months.
So like that, I mean, that says a lot about the person that you are. What advice would you give a young person right now about that?
Man, that's a really good question. Like, where does the drive or like the motivation comes from? And, I've done talks before about what's better, like motivation or discipline. And like the truth is discipline is the most important thing you can really have. We all want to be motivated. We all want to be excited about what we're doing. But when the excitement fades, when that, external motivation fades, do you have the intrinsic discipline to say, this is what I got to do? And because I got to do it, I want to do it. And I'm going to do the best job I can on it. If it's my name's on it, it's going to be the best representation of myself. So I don't know. I've always wanted to do a lot of things. I've always wanted to learn as much as I can. So the advice I would give to somebody that kind of has that endeavor would really just be, have your discipline, have your routines down, have your schedule down. What can you do to set yourself up for success for those 1, 2, 3, or 4 endeavors, whatever they are? You need to set out a schedule for it. You need to have time for each one of those things. You need to have time for yourself. So, we talk sometimes, I don't want to get off topic, but the work-life balance, but it's really not even about work-life balance. It's about work-life harmony, because they're not going to be balanced, right? It's not going to be an even scale. One's going to be taking 80-20, 60-40, right? But if you can find the harmony where I'm still happy, still healthy, mentally and emotionally while doing those things, then it's all good. But having the discipline amongst all those things that you're interested in doing, but being able to understand you need to give 100% of yourself to those things.
Right.
You can't say, hey, I want to be an official, I want to be a coach, I want to be a entrepreneur, I want to be in the stock market. You can't do all those things 20%.
Yep.
Because then you're going to get an F at every one of those things, right? You need to be 80, 90, 100% every one of those things. If you want to be good at all of them,
100%,
you have to be invested enough to know how you can give yourself to that.
That's 100% fact, because when I'm in the basketball season, most of my direction and energy is to that. Obviously, my family is the most important part of my life, but I missed my daughter's gymnastics on Saturday because we had practice. That obviously wasn't the most important part of my day if I went into practice instead of go to her gymnastics. That's just a fact.
Yep.
And so you can sugarcoat it however you want to. There is no balance.
No.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. There is no balance. It's always going to ebb and flow based on whatever the situation is.
Yep.
Now, in mid-March, when the season is over, now it's 100% shifted back to where I'm at.
Yeah.
But for these 4 months, basketball takes precedence over a lot of what goes on in my life. Now, it's not the most important, because if there was an issue that needed my attention,
Sure,
I can now divert my attention to what is necessary.
that's right.
But I'm not gonna like sugarcoat this right now, because as a basketball coach, I'm spending way more time and energy towards this team right now, because I have to be all in. Because if I'm not, we have no chance.
Yep.
And to your point, you can't be good in the stock market if you don't check the stocks every single day, if you're not researching these companies that you're trying to invest in.
That's right.
And so.
No, and you said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, man. I love that when people talk about that, because I say, I don't need anything. If I wanted something sugarcoat, I'll go get a donut. Just give it to me real, give it to me raw, and let me learn or adapt or adjust to see if that fits my lifestyle, my needs, my wants, my desires. But let's keep it real. If you want to be good at something, you're going to have to invest yourself. You got to find that harmony about what, is important to you. And the people that are within your system, your circle, your family, they've got to understand that those things are important to you. And that's part of what makes you tick and what makes you happy. And they need to be able to fly with that too.
Yeah. And on top of that, then when you get where you need to get to, so like when you get home, I need to be locked in fully locked in. I can't be on my phone.
That's
I
right.
can't focus on any of the other stuff because
That's right.
I focus so much attention in another direction, which the most important part has not been nourished.
Yep.
And you
Right.
have to nourish every aspect of your life. And if you got 20 minutes at home, you need to make sure that you're putting forth that effort. And that's something that's really helped me. And I integrate my family with everything that I have.
Yes.
So if we have AAU tryouts, they come up.
Yeah.
They're pulling up. My kids are on the bench
Yep.
at the games. They love running around in there. They think I own the place. They're like, why can't I shoot at halftime? This is Daddy's gym. Well, no, this is not Daddy's gym. Daddy is the coach here. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Yep.
So yeah, and my wife and I talked about that balance and all that stuff because I'm in agreement with you. There's nothing that's ever going to be 50-50. Even our marriage is not 50-50. Yeah. Right now, it's 80. It might be like 95-5 because she's in there with the kids and I'm out here doing this.
That's right.
And my phone's on airplane mode right now. I'm completely locked into this.
Yep.
And that is the only thing that matters.
Yep.
And so, everybody talks about be where your feet are and be present and all that stuff, but we actually have to really live that.
Mm-hmm.
There's another thing that I've seen is how many times when you go to lunch or something or go to a meeting and somebody puts their phone like right on the table, unconsciously that is telling that person you are not 100% invested in this conversation. And it makes a whole lot of sense because you have something that's out, that's visible for me to see, understanding that if this buzzes, you are potentially or more than likely going to look up at it and divert your attention from whatever it is that we had going on to whatever it is that is buzzing that phone.
Right.
And I think it's so very important to understand that very thing is like, why are we so focused on something that's so external that really means nothing? Because the only thing that really means something is the time that we have right in front of each other.
Right. No, and being present for each other, being present in relationships, being present at work. There is no substitute for those things. People get sidetracked and all that kind of business, but it really is. It's being present for your people, for the things that you're doing, and not those external drives. I do, from the outside looking in, I love seeing how you integrate your family into all the things you do. I think you do a fantastic job at that, man. It's really cool to be able to see that. And it just, it speaks to your character, as a family man and as a value person of relationships. So
well, thank you.
I love that.
I do have a question for you though. Tell me, so you talked about sugarcoating and then you talk about eating a donut. Well, your diet is like the meat part is cool because you eat steak almost every single day.
Yeah.
But how do you eat junk food? And I'm not talking about just any junk food. You'll have a carton of ice cream mixed with brownies and cookies all mixed up.
Yeah.
For just cause. How can you do that and still, be on top of your fitness, or is your metabolism just like that?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I have an excellent metabolism. I think I hit the genetic lottery in some respects, but I do put in the work. I mean, every single day I'm up early, working out, take my dog to the park. I'm doing push-ups, pull-ups, hitting the baseball for him. So I do get plenty of exercise. I'm constantly moving. I definitely do not eat according to the suggested diet plan. The food pyramid, I always tell people, I say it's a suggestion. It's not it's not a have to, because I do not follow the food pyramid at all. It's not because, I'm on a special diet. I eat what I like. And so, I do eat a lot of sweets because, man, they taste good. But, I do have a lot of protein, a lot of carbohydrates in there. That's pretty much the base of it. Is carbohydrates, protein, and then sweets, but
no vegetables.
I don't eat any vegetables. I don't eat any fruit.
Do you supplement with anything like vitamins or anything?
Nah, I thought about doing that when I got out of high school and realized that I'm the only one who ate like that, or it's very rare. I thought about doing it, so I went to the doctor and said, "No, I need to have these blood tests. I need to tell me where I'm deficient." But every time and I get my blood checked just about every 6 months or so. But every time I'm good. I'm good. I'm clean, and so I'm fortunate. Whatever I'm eating, it's getting me the things that I need. And so I don't anticipate changing. I'm 40 years in, and it's probably not going to change.
Very interesting. So again, it's not one size fits all. So everybody's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So you can't, first of all, you can't do what LeBron does. You can't do what Steph does. You can't do what like everybody's going to be different. So some people can sleep for 3 hours and be good. Some people need 8 hours of sleep to be good.
Yep.
So like, same thing. I work out every single day. I rarely take an off day. And the reason is because I just need to move my body.
Yeah.
But at 40 years old, I feel great. I'm able to do everything I can with my kids. My kids can jump on me and jump on my back. I don't have any pain, nothing. Even all the sports injuries, they're healed.
Yep.
I don't have any issues.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the biggest things is always getting a workout in.
Yep.
And it doesn't even have to be strenuous.
No.
Just move your body. Everybody's got wearables now, even on your phone. Your phone's got a wearable, so it tracks your steps.
Yep.
And if you got 12,000 steps every day, you're doing pretty good.
Yep.
And that's what I try to get, 12,500 steps every single day. It's always more most of the time, especially when I'm up at Valley, because I mean, it's
all the stairs.
It's a good quarter mile. It's a good quarter mile to get to anywhere over on campus.
Yep.
So yeah, make sure you guys work out.
What I liked about what you said is, you feel like you have to move. And I 100% agree with that, because that's how I'm so ingrained and so disciplined now that I've got to get my workout in. Then if I don't, I do feel a little bit off. But, there's something I read too that was great. It said, it's part of that choose your hard or whatever. But if you always try and make life easy, you make it harder for yourself, right? So you get up, you don't want to work out. I want to make it easy on myself. I don't want to work out. Well, the next day it's going to be even harder to work out. Now you're going to be so stiff that you can't even work out. Yep. So by choosing a little bit of hard, by giving yourself a little bit of challenge, you actually make yourself better, more functional. It's like, I don't want to read that book. All right, it's too much. Well, read the book, learn something new. If you stop learning new things, your brain starts slowing down. It's not going to be as effective, right? So choose what you want. Do you want a really easy? Well, easy to first, and now it's going to be hard, because as soon as you stop doing those things, you're going to get stiff. You're not going to be thinking or learning things as quickly. So keep doing it, keep learning, choose the things that are going to make you ultimately what you want to be.
100%. Right? And everything's changing so quickly. Yeah. I mean, you could just look at the college sports landscape. And if you were doing things the way you were doing 5 years ago, you are now irrelevant.
Yep.
Because there's so many people that are difference makers and changing what the normal is. And like Nick Saban just recently got out the best coach in college football history.
Yep, no doubt.
And it can be a number of things. One, he has every right to go out on his own whenever he wanted to go out.
Yep.
But at the same time, did he want to go through all the stuff that is new and having to stay up to date? It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And especially a place like that where you're overrun with stress all the time.
High pressure.
High pressure. You do make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so that's the good part. But at the end of the day, there's a quality of life that you still want to have. There's definitely no balance in a position like that.
No.
And the new coach that's coming from Washington, he's going to find out oh, great, I got the Alabama job, but he's going to find out this is a different type of job, and you got to be a different type of cat, especially when you follow a giant.
Yep.
Whoa.
You're not filling those shoes. And just what you said, the expectations for that university are significantly higher, significantly more challenging than Washington.
100.
They were very proud of what he accomplished at Washington. So was there expectations? Yeah, but it's kind of like, man, you're doing a great job. Keep doing you. At Alabama, it's going to be, no, what are you doing for us today, tomorrow, and in the future? Are you Nick Saban? No, nobody is. So, man, those shoes that he's got to fill, they're size 24.
Do you know anybody who's ever followed a world-renowned coach and been able to jump in with no issues and keep the ball rolling?
Nah.
Is there anybody?
Nah. I don't think there's anybody in the history of any of the major sports that has done that. There's been guys that have been successful, but definitely they've been compared to that past legend and that past successful person to some degree. And we're all trying to make a name for ourselves. So
maybe Roy Williams from North Carolina. He followed Dean Smith, if
Yep.
I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there was somebody in between there, but I think he just followed Dean Smith.
Yep.
I think Roy, but he was already good at Kansas. He had already won a national championship.
Yep.
So I think that is a little bit different when you've already won. You get a little bit more grace, and he was already at North Carolina before coaching with him.
Right.
So he's one that comes to mind. But like on the women's side, who's gonna step in for Tara Vonderveer? Who's gonna step in for Gina Oriemo?
Yeah.
Pat Summitt, whoever came in after her, did not live up to what she had. Bill Belichick. I don't know if Gerard Mayo how is he going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably a great dude and is in the program for a long time.
Yep.
I don't know who else. Who was there anybody like who followed Phil Jackson for the Bulls? Nobody.
Yeah, don't even remember.
And then the second time with the Lakers, like 5 different people until
just a rotating carousel there.
Yeah. I don't know who followed Red Auerbach, but was it Bill Russell? Was he like a player coach?
Yeah. Yeah, man, there's no replacing any of those people, I try and think of how, we've all taken on different jobs and roles, right? And, I'm principal, so I took over a former principal as a former leader, right? When I think about taking over a new spot like that, you have to dress with the staff like or the team or whoever. I'm never going to be that person. I'm always going to be me. Now, you tell me what things you valued from that person, and I will try and deliver those things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I'm going to do things my way because that's who I am, right? And I'm going to try and appeal to all of you guys in your special way and your new unique needs. But man, you feel in a position like that, and it's not just your people, because now you're talking about a whole fan base that you're trying to appease.
Yeah, and you can't please everybody.
No,
and you have to be okay with. You have to go to bed okay with the decisions that you make, as long as you're treating people the right way.
Yep.
And if you can do that, then you should be okay. Like you should feel okay with whatever the situation is. Speaking about being a principal, what are some of the major issues that you see with young kids right now? I just feel like it's such a trying time to be a leader in administration in schools. Yeah. There's so many megaphones in the community that all have a say so, but they don't really have any solutions. No. If you sat there and asked them, so what do you want to do about this issue? And then most importantly, the kids is very concerning, just because there's just so much out there at such a young age right now.
Yeah. Education, it's a really tough space to be in. I think at any time you look at it, but now more than ever, the demands on public school educators and just educators in general is higher than ever. And the scrutiny is higher than ever. The notoriety around those things is higher than ever. And, I think back to when you and I were in school, or just kind of our era of growing up, if something went wrong at school for me when I was a kid, and a teacher or an administrator called home to my mom or dad, that conversation was pretty quick. And it was, what did he do wrong? Okay, I'm going to let him know. And then I was reprimanded. I was told what I did wrong. I was told that I wasn't going to do that again. And that's how the conversation went.
Yeah.
And I think that still happens to some degree. But what I see more so these days, which is concerning to me, is I'll call the parent, let them know what happened. And then the parent will be like, well, no, my son or daughter told me this. And it's like, well, no, I just told you what happened. I was out there watching it. This is exactly what happened. And so there's kind of a disbelief sometimes from the parent community. And this is, it's not all the time. This is still a small percentage, but those are hard to take, as a leader, as somebody who's here, who really cares for your kid. Like, I'm not calling you to reprimand you as a parent. I'm calling you to say, here's the problem or challenge that your child had. Here's my solution, or how I think we can make it better. Let's hold them accountable for it, and they'll grow and they'll learn from it. But if you're making excuses for your child or for yourself, nobody grows and learns from that. Right. And there's no growth from that if we're just going to make excuses or say it's somebody else's fault. No, they did this because of that. Like, like he or she did something they weren't supposed to. Hold them accountable for it. Let's not do that again, and we'll be better tomorrow. So that's kind of what worries me about education these days, is just the lack of accountability sometimes from, from parent communities.
Yep.
And it's not like intentional, like no parent's like, well, I don't want my kid to be accountable. It's not that. It's just they want to deflect or put it on something else. And a lot of times it isn't. It is just like, hey, your kid made a mistake, and that's okay. We can live with that. We'll grow from it. Like, I was not a perfect child. Shoot, like I got suspended. I had things that, I did that I'm certainly not proud of, but my parents held me accountable. I served my time, whatever I heard that the consequence of my action was served.
Yeah.
I learned, I grew from it, and I turned out okay. I'm in a position now where I can help other people when they make mistakes to think about how they impacted others. How did your words, your actions impact somebody else, and that's really where the learning part takes place.
Right. I don't know if you remember, we chatted a while back, and I was saying, there's some kids that, were trying to like be rough or whatever with CJ. And I wanted to tell him to like how we would do it
how we
back in
handle
the
it.
day. And handle it.
Yeah.
Like handle it. All right. You tell him one time. All right. If not, then you got to handle it. And then you gave me some really good advice. And I was like, you were like, well, what would the court of law say? You brought that out on me. If you were to retaliate on somebody and then that person gets injured. And I was like, well, that would be an assault, blah, blah, blah. And so that was kind of like something that added value to my perspective, and my original perspective. Be like, no, handle it. Go ahead and, do what you got to do to make sure that doesn't happen again. But in hindsight, that is not the right way to approach it. You have to try to de-escalate the situation and remove yourself, because how we grew up, that just kind of was the code.
Yep.
But that's not how things work out. And so.
No, yeah. And that's a good piece of it. A parent calls me about a fight, right? And, this kid hit this kid, and then this kid hit back. It's like, well, my kid was just doing self-defense. No. Did your kid get hit and then run away and go get somebody? No. Your kid turned around and slugged the kid back. And I'm not telling you that that's not what I would have done when I was his or her age.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you that's not acceptable. That's mutual combat. If they're out on the streets and they do that, they both go to jail. It is what it is. The cops are taking both of them. So that's how the education system has to operate. Our job is to try and teach de-escalation, try and teach coping skills, frustration skills, all those things, so that they don't make decisions like that. But no, doesn't meet the definition of self-defense. If just because that dude hit you first, that's not how it works.
For sure. And same thing in a basketball game. If somebody does something to you and you do something back, well, both of you guys are getting kicked out of the game.
Yep.
Simple as that. And that's that's a lesson that we have to learn in restraint.
Yep.
In certain situations, you have to just be very, very calculated and calm before you actually react. And I think a lot of us, especially in the positions that we're in, if we just keep that level of calmness, the situation will de-escalate. Let's say you had an angry parent, or I had an angry parent, at school or on the basketball team, and how you handle that situation is going to go a long way with what actually happens next.
Yep.
Because that is the kicker. And I don't know if you heard this, but E plus R equals O. So event plus response equals the outcome. So there's an event, and I forget where I was at, but there was a situation, and this person came at me with some energy, and I came at him with no energy back. Because if that same energy would have occurred,
that's right.
If we look back, when we first met 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, that would have been a different situation.
100%.
And you have to, and my kids were around. So I got to make sure that I'm cool and collective in all situations. And same thing goes for you, because there's a lot of situations. Is there any situations that you found yourself in that is like, oof, this is a little sticky?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they happen more frequently than I'd want to, than happen, but it is what it is. And, I talk to my staff about that quite frequently, because we get parents that come in hot, right? Come in firing. And I always try and tell my staff, like, What do you fight fire with? Water. You can't fight fire with fire. So when somebody comes at you really hot, you can't give that hot right back, because that outcome is not going to be what you want. Nobody wins when you're both coming at battering heads, firing and firing. Somebody comes to you with fire, give them some water. Try and cool that situation down. Try and empathize with what they're going through. It doesn't mean you give in, but you at least have to empathize with what they're going through and what they're dealing with, right? Even if your opinion is different, and you can articulate that, but you got to do it in a way where they understand, like, I hear you, I understand where you're coming from. Once they've at least drawn some of that back down, now let me talk to you about where my logic, where my reasoning, and where I'm coming from this decision. But you can't just fire back. Fire with fire doesn't fly.
I talked to one of my other friends who's in administration at a public middle school, and the parent came in hot at him. He said, first of all, I didn't do anything wrong today.
Yeah.
I'm just alerting you to whatever it is that happened.
Yep.
And this is what happened. All we want to do is find a solution.
Yep.
Can we just find a solution? And you coming at me, I didn't, whatever it is. I didn't cheat today.
I didn't send a text. I didn't cheat. I didn't punch somebody.
Yeah. I didn't do any of these things.
Yeah.
But one of those things was done, and it happened to be your child.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, even the things like when parents come to me, this person said this to my child, and what are you going to do? It's like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to that person. I'm going to talk to your child and make sure, but I can't control what somebody says to your kid.
Yeah.
And nobody can throughout their life. So what do we really want to learn from this? That we're going to tell people not to say something mean, and nobody will ever say something mean to your child? Because that's not the truth. Somebody's going to say something mean to you throughout your life. How do you respond when somebody says or does something that you do not like?
Yeah.
That's where the lesson's at.
Yeah.
And teaching that to a really fired up parent is very challenging. So you got to do it, strategically and take your time with it. But ultimately, what is the solution? What do we want to answer right now? Like you and I did not create this problem, but here it is in front of us. How can we work together? How can we partner up to solve this for you, for your child, and hopefully for that other family too, right? Because they've got a concern that they've got to address.
Yeah.
So,
and that's how you can fix a lot of problems, is trying to find a solution. And there's a lot of times that I try to reverse engineer things. All right, well, where do I want to get to? All right, so like if you're trying to get your doctorate, where do I want to get to? All right, so I want to get here, and there's a bunch of different steps. It's a 2-year process to finally get this actual goal. And if you looked at it, like all these steps that you actually have to take to actually get to that process of getting your doctorate, you'd be like, my goodness, this is a lot.
Yep.
But just like, walking a mile seems like if you just looked at the distance from walking a mile, but if you take a step, you get closer, you get closer, you get closer, and eventually you'll get to your destination. And so whatever it is that you're trying to attain, you don't have to go fast.
Yep.
You have to go very slow, and sometimes it's methodical, and sometimes you're going to take a few steps back, but that's okay as long as you're putting steps forward. And that's why I think I always talk about process over outcomes, because if your process was good, if we drive and kick and get a good shot and they miss it, well, it was a good process.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, those are the type of shots that we want to take.
We'll take that process 9 times out of 10 if we can.
Yeah.
Right.
And there may be a time where the process was bad. You take a crazy shot and you hit it, especially in women's basketball. There's always like a bank shot that goes in a game. You could probably count on average 1 bank shot per game in our game. But the process was still bad. So the statistics will say that you're not going to win over time. You might win a little bit, but you're not going to win over time.
Well, and I like what you talk about, the process of it and like reverse engineering. So if you looked at your schedule like this year, right? And you may say, man, I want to go, 20-10 this year, or at the end of the year, I want to have a CCS playoff opportunity or state playoff opportunity. And so you're thinking about that and like, man, I've got to move mountains in order to do that. I got to move mountains. Now, how do you move a mountain? You do it 1 stone at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So that first practice, that's one stone, man. Second practice, that's one stone. You know, one game where you came back from 10 down, that's a boulder. You just moved a boulder, you know, but each one of those things help ultimately at the end of the season, man, we moved a mountain. We had this mountain over here. We were 0-0 with no experience, with nothing accomplished. We moved that whole mountain. You know, we finished 27-11, you know, second CCS. We got an opportunity to stay playoffs. Like, that's how you move the mountain, one step at a time, one practice, one game, one thing that was difficult at a time that you did.
Yep.
You know?
When you look back on your high school career, what is one thing that sticks out to you?
Man, high school career, it feels very long ago now. Every year gets a little bit more removed.
It is. It's almost 25 years, Nate.
every year gets a little bit further and further from it. And so I don't know if I get better from it or if I get worse. But, you know, I think if I could have changed, was it changed anything or just something that was impactful?
What is one thing that sticks out to you?
You know, I really just wish I would have had the kind of same drive that I do now back then. I think that I was good enough to coast in a lot of, you know, scenarios. And so I was always good enough to get away with things. And so I was good enough to, you know, get A's, and I was good enough to, you know, put 20 in a game, you know, my senior year there. But like, I could have scored 30 if I would have just like really stuck to it, really like played defense harder, really like got rebounds harder, really, you know, if I would have done a lot of the little things that I would now in my mentality, I think it would have been much better off. So, you know, I'm very proud of my career and what I accomplished throughout it, and having an opportunity to play, you know, college football and all that kind of stuff. But I wish that I had figured out the value of hard work and drive and all those kind of things a little bit earlier in my career.
Yeah, I think that's similar to what I would say too, is you can work harder.
Yeah.
You can always work harder.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest thing that I would look back and say, yeah, you worked out, but did you?
Yeah.
Because I see it in our kids now.
Yep.
Like, did you run that sprint as hard as you could?
Yeah.
It didn't look like it.
Right.
I feel like there's a little bit more. Was there a little bit more that you can get? And I think I just got by. Yep. I was above average all the time. Yep. I've always been above average.
Yep.
And I've tried to strive for more greatness as I've gotten older in certain things. But I also think it probably becomes easier when you're more self-aware too.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's self-awareness is huge, because even in a big city like this, you can still be a big fish in a small pond here. You know, once you start getting out and getting to some of that international travel or even countryside travel, we get to see, wow, there are some other really good players in this country, right. You know? And so I think, you know, we're ignorant in some degree in that respect, because you can be really good here, but you might not be really good, you know, 100 miles that way or 100 miles that way. And so kind of self-awareness, like, yeah, I could be better. I should be, because look at that guy. That guy's really talented, and that guy's really talented. And man, I bet he or she worked their tail off to be able to get where they are. I could do a little, not that neither of us were lazy, because we were both hard workers. I remember seeing you in the gym doing your thing, but man, there was another level that we could have pushed to.
100%. Yeah. And so as my kids are getting older, I want them to grasp that early. Do you have any advice on how to make sure that they get that on their own? Because it can't come from, I know that it can't come from me or my wife. Yep. It has to come from within. Yep. And so I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do that.
That's a great point. You know, right now you're still like their champion. You're still their hero. You are still their guiding light and voice, but there's going to come time where they start to like, you drown out, right? Because they think they know it all. It happens to all of us at some point. I did that. Like, my dad knew everything about basketball, but at some point I zoned him out. I'm like, oh, I know everything. I know more than he does. You know, and that never was the case, but that's how the mentality is of that teenager, right? Yeah. I think the best way to combat that is to expose them to what real hard work looks like. So take them to one of those special practices where you know that coach works those kids out and really puts them to they're sweating, right? They're going at like, when was the last time you sweat at practice? You know, because I'm like, gosh, I don't remember the last, like when I was playing in high school, like when did I sweat? You know, it's like, And I never did. But if I would have saw one of these guys, how they compete, how they practice, how they train, how they are before practice even starts, 30 minutes in before, an hour in before, putting in that work. If I would have been exposed to that, maybe that would have been enough of a light bulb shock to say, ooh, that is how you get to that level. And that's the only way I'm going to get there, is by seeing and doing that, because I'm good, but that's next level. So I think the exposing them to that level of work.
No, that's a good point. And, we know a lot of college coaches, so it's not hard for us to pull up.
You've got the resources
and show them exactly what that is. But yeah, I do want to expose them at such a young age. The Talent Code is a book that I've read, and it talks about why certain areas are hotbeds, like the Dominican Republic for baseball, or Brazil in the 70s for soccer. And one of the things that the Brazilians did, they started playing on faster surfaces, and they played futsal. So they would get way more touches, and they would play 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and they were getting 5 times the touches as you would get on a full soccer field. And that's how they got their skills up higher. And, Tiger Woods, I don't know if you've seen his documentary, but he started at such a young age. Then he was ignited by certain coaches and things like that got him to be really elite at what he was trying to go for. And his dad basically, put all these things in his life to make sure that was going to happen. The one thing is, I don't ever want to be the parent where you're just forcing it upon them to get to somewhere. But my son seems to have dreams and aspirations, and at age 6, you need to start navigating all of that to put yourself in that position. And so I want to make sure that he is exposed as much as he possibly can to all the sports, football, basketball, and baseball, because that's the only reason why I'm here, playing football, basketball, and baseball all the way up through high school is the only reason why I'm sitting here right now. That's the only thing that ever ignited me. And if I didn't do those things, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today.
No, I mean, and we talked about it earlier, just giving back to the game that gave to us, sports brought so many special things to my life. It brought friends, it brought relationships. It taught me the hard work and the discipline and the drive that you need to be able to succeed in anything in life.
Right.
And so, like you're giving back to the game by doing it as a coach, by doing it as a dad. It's a beautiful thing to see. And sports are, their life.
What do you have any business advice for everybody out there?
Business advice is really just find what you're good at, find your passion. And sometimes they're what you like and what your passion are and what you're good at are aligned, and sometimes they're not. But there needs to be some kind of enjoyment that you find in the work that you do. Because otherwise, those years of your life will shrink away and go by very fast. So I would just say, find what you like, find what you're good at, try and align those two things, and try and create a life for yourself where, ultimately you have freedom of time, because that's like the ultimate flex. It's not necessarily what you can buy or anything like that. It's, do you have enough time to be able to spend doing the things that you like with the people that you like? That's the ultimate flex at the end of the day. And
you're like international man of mystery and travel kind of all over. Where are some of the places you recently traveled, and what is it like traveling by yourself sometimes?
Traveling in general, I think is just a beautiful thing, because it exposes you to what else is out there in the world. We get so ingrained in what we're doing here and how things are here, and we think that's just how it is everywhere, and it couldn't be further from the truth. America's the greatest country, but there's so many great things out there to see and do, and the cultures of different people are amazing. I've been to Fiji, I've been to Belize, I've been to Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Panama, French Polynesia, Bora Bora, Moorea, Rangiroa, Taha. So many places that are just beautiful islands and beautiful countries, and the culture, the people are so kind, and so they view life a lot different. Here in the Bay Area, there is a degree of that rat race mentality, and so you go some of those places and that is not present at all. They're living every day, they're enjoying every day. They've got a job to do, but they're on, island time, or they're on, just the time of their life. They're kind of taking it one thing at a step. And man, it's beautiful to be able to see another way of living and another way to enjoy life. And really, man, the sunsets and those sunrises couldn't be better from some of those island countries, man. Beautiful.
And what sort of peace do you get when you get to go to some of those places?
I think for me, it really just kind of highlights what I said before. Just it highlights my freedom of time. I've worked really hard to be able to save up and create a life now where, I still, I work, my calendar is 209 days out of the year that I work as a principal, 209 days. So I try and find, 100 days of those where I can travel and go and do things. And that, it doesn't always work out like that, but, as close to that as possible. We get, the week off in Thanksgiving, and a couple weeks off in December. And, whenever those times are, I pretty much try and get out of Dodge. I try and fly somewhere unique that I haven't been to and see what's out there and meet the people and talk to them. And I mean, I don't really deviate from what I eat. I eat, protein and rice and those things, but I do love seeing waterfalls and hiking the volcanoes and, doing all things like that because there's just so many wonders out there.
And so how do you do it by yourself? I've never been on a vacation by myself. Maddie and I were at dinner last night, and there was a guy that was eating dinner by himself and not at the bar. It was just like a dinner for two, but it was like for one. And so we were like, oh, okay, that's interesting. In Willow Glen to be eating by yourself. But hey, maybe she's like, maybe he got stood up. I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to ask my buddy.
No, I like traveling. I mean, I would love to be able to travel with friends, significant others, whatever it might be. But that's not always possible. Not everybody's got the same, obviously calendar schedule that I have. Not everybody has the same resources. But traveling by yourself, it kind of teaches you how to enjoy things kind of on your own. The good part about it is like, I don't have to check in with anybody, see if this is what they want to do. I get to do everything I wanted to do, kind of on my time. And it kind of builds some of that confidence and independence in what you're doing. So those things I appreciate, but I mean, ultimately it is, in my opinion, it's more fun to be able to share the experiences with others. So while I do travel alone on occasion, I much prefer bringing friends, bringing significant other, because sharing experiences is, much more enjoyable to me.
Yeah, I think Kevin Hart was saying that it sucks to be the only one with money because he can do anything and some of his friends can't.
Yeah.
So it makes it very difficult to do things and so he found ways for all his friends to earn money so they can have the freedom and flexibility to do what they want. Like you said, that is the ultimate flex. Yep. Doing what you want when you want to do it without any say so from anybody else. Yep. is great. I think that is freedom. If you can do that, that is freedom. And that doesn't mean you actually have to make a whole lot of money, because you talked about the island people. They are free and they're on island time because they don't have any worries about whatever it is that's going on. Time is precious to them. And so each second is valuable, and, taking a leisurely stroll is okay. Yep. And when we're here, we are so much more uptight and intense for no reason a lot of the times. Yep. And that's something that I wish that I would do a better job of is like chilling out, because it's just, it feels like there's so much going on. Yep. But at the end of the day, I do get a lot of pockets of time too with the schedule that we have, and my wife and I like to travel a lot. We've been to a lot of places as well, and so that's really cool. Less now since we have kids, but now a little
more challenging.
The travel trips are usually with them. So any other wise words for the people out there today?
I talk to my staff every week. I try and lead them off with something that's interesting or motivating. And one of the things that I talked about the other day was the whole glass half full. And so I just want to mention this because I think it's a good one. A lot of people talk about glass half full, glass half empty. And so I actually really think there's 4 kind of approaches to it. So the person who sees a glass half full, he walks in or she walks in, glass is, full of rose lenses, right? Oh, this is a glass of half full water. And that's exactly what I wanted. That's exactly what I needed. It was this half glass full of water. The pessimist walks in and is like, oh my goodness, I'm so thirsty. That's not enough water in there. What am I going to do? There's nothing, like, that's just not good enough. The realist walks in. The realist says, oh, glass of water, cool, I'm thirsty. Pounds it, puts it down. Man, that was really good. What are you guys arguing about over here? The superstar walks in, though, the rock star, the real person who's really got the right approach walks in and says, what's going on? Oh, well, I had this like optimist. Well, there was this beautiful glass of half full water. And the pessimist, there was only half empty glass of water. The realist, oh, I drink a glass of water. This rock star, the superstar says, hey, there's plenty of water out there. There's plenty more cups. Let's all go get what we need. Whatever you guys need, I can help you out to get it. Right. But it's all the resources are out there. Let's go do it. So really it's like, just approach life with a can-do attitude. All the resources are out there. All the abundance is out there. What do you want? Somebody can teach you how to get it. You can learn how to do it, but it's out there for you, man.
Yeah, that's true. And like basketball term was, oh, they got so-and-so. Well, we got you.
Yeah.
That should be good enough.
That's
it
right.
It doesn't really matter. And everybody, like, stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just make strides to improve yourself. And if you can improve yourself, you're just going to be trajectorying up. That's and right. If you can continue to go up and up and up, then you'll look back and be like, oh, wow, I took a major leap. And people, and I see this, and I bring it back to my kids just because, like, he's about to be 6 in a few weeks. And so if you look from age 5 to 6, he's, X amount taller now. Yeah. You would think that it was just overnight, but it was 365 days of this small.
That's right.
Small. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, that's crazy how in just 3 years ago, it was like this. And so just small little micro increments every single day will get you to where you want to get to. And so where can everybody follow you and all the great things that you do?
I'm on social media, but I don't really have a strong presence, really just kind of for friends and family. So, just jump onto Chris's thing every now and then to check me out because I try and get out with you as much as possible. But yeah, the principal at Ponderosa, love working at that school, great community, and love working for Santa Clara Unified now. Real estate wise, I work for Intero. That's where I hang my license, and I mostly only represent myself or friends and family, but and everybody knows a realtor. So, but if you do need help ever, I'm always glad to just help guide or provide my support or opinion on it. Officiating wise, catch me on the court when you can, but support your officials. They're hardworking folks, and wish everybody the best. Thanks, Chris, for having me.
You know who else you should support?
Who's that?
This outro.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.